Most people thought the arc thrower was nerfed in the latest patch. It did receive a decrease to its range from 50 meters to 35 meters. It now only fires once per second as well, which is a bit slower than previously, but the arc thrower received a massive buff to its stagger force. This wasn't actually a nerf. It was an overhaul that completely changed its identity as a support weapon, and this was actually a massive buff to its effectiveness in my opinion now. But can the arc thrower stagger Hulks? But can the arc thrower stagger Chargers? We're going to be covering the arc thrower's new identity as a support weapon, its pros and cons inside of the game right now, the best stratagem pairings to use with this gun, as well as some tips I've learned playing with the arc thrower this patch. But before we get into this shocking video, let's talk about today's sponsor, Blazing Boost. Today's sponsor is Blazing Boost. Now, Blazing Boost provides the gaming community with professional services. In Helldivers 2, they offer currency farming, war bond leveling, and connecting you with a pro so that you can understand and play the game at a higher level. They have over 34,000 reviews on Trustpilot and have been in the industry since 2012. And they have pro players available to play with you instantly. You can use code THICK8 to get 8% off of any of your orders, and I recommend clicking their link in the description if you're looking to level up your hell diving. So the arc thrower has a brand new identity as the stun locking champion that can deal with heavier, medium, and small enemies with infinite ammo. Every single bug below Chargers will not even be able to get close to you, and every single bot below tanks won't get close to you either. This gun fully stun locks Hulks to the point where they are easy for this gun to deal with, and that's where the fire rate and range nerfs come into play. Because this gun isn't just a great mobbing weapon anymore, it's a completely safe way to deal with Hulks or any small group of enemies in general. If this gun kept its range, it would be completely oppressive, and the fire rate is just fast enough that if you time your shots well and don't let go too early and miss, you can stun lock Hulks forever, as I'm showcasing. But the more impressive news is that this gun can actually stun Chargers. Now, it doesn't stun lock Chargers, but it stuns them just a slight amount that they don't whip around when they're charging right next to you or near you. I'm kind of trying to show you guys this in these clips, but basically, if you're hitting a charger with an arc thrower, they slow down ever so slightly enough that they don't whip around, like I said, and they basically just become easy targets now to simply walk around. I was very, very close to these two chargers in this clip and dealt with them effortlessly. You just gotta keep moving and you basically simply strafe around them. It's kind of hard to show this and explain this in the clips, but hopefully those of you who have dealt with a charger doing a 180 on you or whipping around on you know exactly what I'm talking about. So go ahead and try this out in game and practice the new fire rate on it, and you will see how good that this gun feels right now. Now, what we really need to cover in this video is the arc thrower's weaknesses and basically just the enemies it's not really that good against, and what my recommendations for dealing with these enemies are going to be. The arc thrower pretty much won't really deal with only the heaviest enemies that well: Bile Titans, tanks, and cannon turrets. It's also not very good against the new gunships either, because they do fly above you at a long range. I'm also assuming it's not good against the new Fabricator Walker because of how tanky it is, but I haven't been able to test it against it yet, so I'm going to be ignoring the new enemy specifically for this video, but we will talk about gunships. Now keep in mind, the arc thrower technically will deal damage to these enemies, but it's just not efficient. I really don't recommend it because it's probably not the best way to deal with them at all. Now when it comes to Bile Titans, I simply recommend bringing the expendable anti-tank with you. This stratagem has a short cooldown, and if you hit both of these in the head, you can take out Bile Titans. The autocannon sentry is also a great additional option you could bring for your build as well, because it could deal with multiple enemies, but it can also kill Bile Titans. One thing worth mentioning is against bugs, I don't even bring stun grenades anymore. When I have the arc thrower equipped, I use impact grenades, because impact grenades are great for taking out bug holes, and since you are stunning enemies so much, I just didn't find that I needed them, at least when I was running it in my games. Now for the bots, on the other hand, the best stratagem will be the Eagle Airstrike. The Eagle Airstrike effortlessly deals with tanks, and the Eagle Airstrike is also good for taking out fabricator buildings, and without bringing the autocannon sentry, you do need a way to deal with buildings. Now the other thing is the Scorcher is probably the best primary to bring with the arc thrower on bot missions, because it is good for taking out cannon turrets. You can see in the clip I'm shooting this Scorcher underneath the cannon turret, kind of near the back of it, near that heat sink, and it's able to take it out in about 1 magazine. The Scorcher can also take out the new gunships. Now, I was shooting it right in the middle of it, and it took me about 2 magazines, but I did notice that the gunship's accuracy dropped off while I was shooting at it, and it was missing me a lot. The Scorcher is probably not necessarily the best way to deal with gunships. You might want to bring expendable anti-tanks again on bot missions if you really are getting annoyed by these enemies, or rely on one of your teammates to help you with gunships, and then just use the Scorcher kind of if you're in a pinch, you know what I mean? So in general, it's definitely still the best primary paired with the arc thrower, at least on bot missions. And when it comes to the grenade, I will say I was using impact grenades in my gameplay for bot missions as an additional way to deal with fabricators. But since Arc Thrower can really only chain up to 3 enemies, a group of more than 3 Devastators can be a bit of a pain to deal with, I will admit. Stun grenades might still be better in those scenarios, and there are a lot of Devastators spawning right now. The one other thing you should keep in mind while using this gun is don't shoot it at enemies that are too close to you. If a couple bugs sneak up to you and crawl within 5 meters of you, you're better off pulling out your primary or secondary and dealing with them that way. Since this gun has a 1-second charge up time, it's better to quickly deal with anything rapidly approaching. If there ends up being more than 3 or 4 enemies, then you're going to have to shoot this gun multiple times to be able to kill them. And with a 1-second windup time, like I said, it's just way more efficient to pull out your primary or secondary in that case. I've also noticed it sometimes won't even hit enemies within that very close meter range to you. I'm not sure if it's a bug with the weapon, kind of how it doesn't trigger whenever there's terrain in the way, or if it's just not able to target that close to it. And that's another thing we should talk about real quick, is that this gun is better from high ground rather than low ground. Sometimes when you're low on a hill, you kind of have that terrain problem where the height advantage of the enemies kind of get one over on you. So always try to position yourself above enemies, maybe even potentially pair this with a jetpack. My own personal rule when it comes to team killing for this weapon is if my teammate is in front of me, then I try not to shoot it. If I can shoot around them, I will, or if I'm above them, you can often shoot above their heads. But if my teammate runs into the path of my arc thrower, then they need to learn their lesson and stop running in front of me. So just keep on shooting it if your teammates decide to run in front of you, and let them know you're using the arc thrower and not to do that. So let me know if you guys have any other tips for dealing with some of those heavier threats I mentioned were this gun's weakness. It's not that the arc thrower deals no damage against the heaviest of enemies, it's that it doesn't kill them that fast, and it also doesn't stun lock them. You know, not stun locking Bile Titans or tanks while also killing them slow makes this gun very inefficient against those enemies. And that's going to be it for this video. I tried to pack as much information I've learned using this gun in as short a time as possible, so if you enjoyed this video, I only ask that you drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you're interested in how Joel and the Automatons have been playing 5D chess with the defend missions and the major orders, and how we as a community can stop failing them, go check out my recent videos covering his activity with the Automaton major orders. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.